What's up guys, James here from ExoForma. I wanted to talk to you about clay barring your car. Not just how to do it, but knowing when you need to do it. A lot of people think that you can clay bar your car whenever you want. Some people do it after they wash their car every single time. That's usually not the case because clay barring will cause marring on the paint, and you typically want to follow that up with polishing. There's several different types of clay bars as well as clay mitts. So a fine grade clay bar is going to be something you want to use on a relatively new car or something that maybe had been clay barred within the last year or so. A medium grade clay bar is something that you're going to use more often. That's going to be if a car hasn't been clayed in 5 years, or if the car is less than 10 years old and has never been clay barred, situations like that. And then a heavy clay bar is something for a car that's really old, has never been clay barred, the paint's in really bad shape. And you can also use a heavy clay bar on painted wheels. Now there's also clay mitts. These are nice because they're synthetic. They can be washed and reused, unlike a piece of clay where once it gets filled with contaminants, you have to throw that piece of clay away. So a lot of times people say if you drop your clay bar on the ground, you're going to want to throw it away. That's true. With a clay mitt, if you drop this on the ground, you should be able to wash it off, get all the contaminants off it, and go back to using it. So how you're going to be able to tell if you need to clay a vehicle is if you run the back of your hand across the surface and it feels really gritty, and you can hear it most of the time. You can hear a scratchy noise when you're running the back of your hand across the vehicle. What we have here is a car that's about 7 years old. It's probably never been clayed before. Maybe it's been clayed once. So what we're going to use is the medium grade clay bar. So what you're going to want to do is take your clay bar and break off a small piece and then flatten it into a small patty. What's most important when claying your car is making sure there's a ton of lubrication. Now there's a handful of different things you can use. The most common are a clay lube product, which is just specifically used as a lubricant, but you can also use a detail spray or even just a soap that you would use for washing. So what we're going to use for this video is our Super Shine, which is our detail spray. You're going to want to make sure that you get the area that you're about to clay completely saturated, so there's a lot of lubrication. The less lubrication there is, the more friction, which will cause more marring and make it harder to get rid of that marring when you're polishing. You're even going to want to spray some onto the piece of clay. What you're going to want to do is put the clay on the surface of the vehicle. Do not use much pressure at all, and slowly work in straight lines across the surface of the vehicle. You'll tell as you move across the surface of the vehicle that it gets easier and easier to move the clay across the surface as it's picking up more and more of the contaminants. And then once the clay starts to be filled with contaminants, then you're going to want to fold it over and knead it so that you now have fresh clay with no contaminants in it. It's important that when you're claying that you use straight lines and you don't go in circles, because this is going to cause slight marring, which is like small scratches in the surface of the paint. And if those scratches are circles, they become much harder to get out with a polisher. It's also good as you're working in straight lines to do a crosshatch pattern. After you've done the vertical passes, then do them horizontally. This will help make sure that you get all the contaminants out of the surface. Once you've finished claying, you're going to want to take a clean microfiber towel and wipe up the leftover lubrication. Now when you take the back of your hand across the surface, you're going to see it feels nice and smooth. You no longer hear that scratching noise. Once you've got the entire vehicle completely clayed and smooth to the touch, then it's ready for polishing.